Starting a new business is exciting, but it also requires a number of decisions. One of the first decisions faced is how the business will be set up. Generally, this requires understanding the differences between a partnership and a corporation. Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield faced this decision when they decided to go into the premium ice cream business. Ben & Jerry's Homemade Inc. is unique because of the way Ben & Jerry decided to organize and manage it. And it's worth studying because of its huge success. Annual sales have increased to more than $120 million since Ben & Jerry's was started in the late 1970s. While Ben & Jerry's was established as a corporation, both partnerships and corporations allow their creators to combine talents and resources, opening up more opportunities than if each operated separate businesses as single proprietors.
What Ben brings is a real sense of experimenting, trying new things, no fear of failure whatsoever. Ben has often said that he'd rather fail at something new than succeed at something that's already been done before. I think another major thing that Ben brings is that he's never satisfied. So no matter what we do, he's always looking to improve it. So I think that's a lot of what he brings. I think I'm very good at routine things. I don't mind doing the same thing over and over again, which is good when you're trying to make ice cream.
A partnership is created when two or more people enter into an agreement to combine resources and run a business they will own together. The owners are called partners, and usually they are closely involved in managing the business. The main document they have to prepare is a partnership agreement. On the other hand, creating a corporation requires the founders to secure a charter from a state government and sell shares of stock. The owners of the corporation are called stockholders. While the stockholders of a smaller organization may be involved in managing the business, most stockholders of large corporations have nothing to do with day-to-day operations. In addition, a corporation may have to file a number of reports with the federal government.
We didn't really regard ourselves as going into business or setting up a business or anything like that. We looked at ourselves as becoming ice cream makers, having this little homemade ice cream parlor and doing it for 2 or 3 years and get into something else. So we were not really looking at what form of legal structure we needed to put together for our business as it would grow and evolve over the years. Would you say, Ben?
That's correct. We were not thinking long term.
The many differences between partnerships and corporations create several advantages and disadvantages. First, a partnership is a completely voluntary association of individuals. Each partner has the right to choose whether to accept any new partners. Each partner can also decide whether to remain a partner. In contrast, a corporation is a separate legal person. The corporation's owners cannot easily control who the other stockholders will be. Stockholders can withdraw from the business only by selling their stock. Ben & Jerry relate how they became a corporation.
I think we talked to some lawyer, and he said, you guys ought to form a corporation, and so we did. You know, the lawyer talked about sub-S versus not sub-S for a while, and then we said, well, which do you think we ought to do? And I think he said not sub-S, and we said, okay.
Each partner in a partnership is personally responsible for all of the company's liabilities, even if they were created by the other partners. If the partnership does not have enough assets to pay its debts, the creditors can go after the personal assets of any of the partners. This situation is called unlimited liability and is a major disadvantage of partnerships. On the other hand, a corporation is separate and distinct from its owners. As a result, the stockholders are not personally responsible for the company's debts or for any of its actions. This feature of a corporation is called limited liability. This limit is one of the most important advantages of the corporate structure.
We had like, you know, it was $12,000. Sure, it was our life savings and everything, but we did not look at this as, you know, some huge thing we were getting into. I mean, when we were getting into business, it was a lark. It was something fun to do. It was, you know, to work together and be our own bosses. The question of legal liability and, you know, putting together our corporation and stock and things like that was not on our minds.
Partnership agreements also create what is called mutual agency, which means that each partner is usually authorized to bind a partnership to any contract or obligation within the scope of its ordinary business. This arrangement exposes all other partners to a risk of poor business decisions by a single partner. Like unlimited liability, mutual agency is considered to be a disadvantage of a partnership. Unlike partners, stockholders have very limited powers. In general, they can only cast votes at annual stockholders' meetings to elect the board of directors and to make other limited decisions. When limited authority is combined with limited liability, stockholders are protected from some of the risk of poor business decisions.
Well, a Ben & Jerry's stockholder meeting is something to behold.
It was like nothing that I had ever seen before. I went to the one last year in late June, and it was part of a festival weekend that Ben & Jerry's was hosting. It was under a tent. The chairman of the board and many of the executives were in Bermuda shorts and T-shirts.
We shall now proceed with voting on the election of directors, which is item 1 on the notice of the meeting.
Ben sings the opening, all of the legalese.
You won't find many people complaining about that irreverence. Last year, the value of Ben & Jerry's stock increased 150%, and the company reported record earnings of $3.7 million.
Because a partnership is not separate from its partners, its life is always limited. Some events automatically terminate a partnership agreement, such as death, bankruptcy, or withdrawal of a partner. In some cases, an agreement may be dissolved when a pre-planned date is reached. If the partnership is dissolved, the remaining partners can continue operating the business only by creating a new partnership. In contrast, the life of a corporation is not limited because it is separate from its owners. A stockholder's death, bankruptcy, or withdrawal usually does not affect the corporation's ability to continue operating. One of the most significant differences between partnerships and corporations is their ability to raise additional capital. Because of mutual agency and unlimited liability, partnerships may find it difficult to borrow money or to find new partners. Thus, partners are frequently forced to invest additional personal resources when the partnership needs more capital. In contrast, corporations often find it easier to attract new capital by accepting small amounts from a large number of new stockholders. Stock investments are attractive to investors for several reasons, including limited liability and the unlimited life of the company. These advantages mean that a corporation's ability to raise new capital is limited only by its manager's ability to provide a good opportunity to potential stockholders.
We always needed more money. It's funny how everybody tells you you're always going to need more money and you don't think it's true, but you pretty much, if you're growing your business, you need more money.
We went public because we had a need to raise capital in order to expand. We went public just within the state of Vermont. It was the first ever intrastate Vermont public stock offering. And the idea was that if we could make the community the owners of the business, as the business prospered, the community would automatically prosper. And so we did a self-underwritten in-state public stock offering.
Because we couldn't find anybody else to underwrite it. So I think Ben actually registered as a stockbroker.
I did.
One advantage of a partnership is that the partners maintain close control over its activities. For example, they can select or reject any new partners. They also do not have to provide financial statements or other information to other people. As a result of their control, they shared directly in the company's financial success. On the other hand, stockholders cannot maintain control over a corporation unless they own or control more than 50% of the shares. This means that one or more stockholders could gain control by increasing their ownership by purchasing additional shares. It also means that the original stockholders could lose control when they sell shares to other investors.
You know, all the accountants and the lawyers and the financial advisors were all telling us we were crazy and that what did we want to go become a public health company for and have to open our books to everybody. And we said that's the only kind of business we want to run, where we could open our books to everybody and be proud of it. And you know, they said, you know, you really ought to take venture capital because, you know, then if you need more money, the venture capitalists will give you more money. And we realized that if we took venture capital, that was a situation where there were a few rich people who would loan us a whole lot of money in an effort to get richer. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to give the opportunity to people of limited wealth to achieve some money. You know, so we had a very low minimum buy. For $126, you could become an owner of Ben & Jerry's. And at the end of the offering, 1 out of every 100 Vermont families had bought stock in the company.
Because partnerships are usually controlled by a small number of owners, they can operate without being subject to many laws and regulations. On the other hand, the separation between stockholders and corporate managers means the owners take the risk that management may pursue actions that are not in the owner's best interests. As a result, corporations are subject to laws of their home states, as well as the laws of other states they operate in. Corporations with stockholders in more than one state may fall under federal regulations that require them to file a variety of public reports containing financial statements and other information. Finally, partnerships and corporations are different in the way they are taxed. Both kinds of companies are subject to the same property and payroll taxes. However, partnerships are not subject to any income tax. Instead, the partners are taxed individually on their shares of the company's annual taxable income. Because corporations are separate from their owners, they are subject to special income taxes based on their income before any dividends paid to the stockholders. The income of a corporation is said to be taxed twice because the stockholders have to pay income taxes on any dividends that they receive. This double taxation is a major disadvantage of the corporate form of a business. Despite their differences, partnerships and corporations have some things in common. For example, the managers, owners, and creditors of both partnerships and corporations rely heavily on accounting information to understand their company's financial health and results of operations. The usefulness of this information is crucial for making sound decisions.
Ben and I are not really capable of looking at an accounting report and making a whole lot of sense out of it. I mean, you know, we can see if we're making money or not, if some expenses are out of line or sales are out of line or things like that. But I'd say beyond that, you know, we don't have a very sophisticated take on financial matters here. Well, but it's not to say that financial information here doesn't get used. It's just not used by us.
Right. That's definitely true. I mean, the financial information is used a lot, and I encourage it.
In addition, all partnerships and corporations have important ethical and social responsibilities to their employees, customers, their communities, and the world. Perhaps no other company in the United States has been as sensitive to these responsibilities as Ben & Jerry's.
You know, when our business was first starting out, the financial advisors, the business pundits, the lawyers, the accountants were all saying that our concern for the community and our use of our company resources to work to improve the quality of life in the community was going to be our downfall, and that was going to send Ben & Jerry's down the tubes. And now we're realizing that it's really those things that have driven our success. And what we discover is that there's a spiritual aspect to business just as there is to the lives of individuals. And as you support the community supports you back. It's really not so crazy.